In the orbital city of Virellum Prime, glass towers spiraled upward like crystalline vines, and starships drifted through lanes of shimmering traffic. Among these marvels stood the headquarters of Auraline Systems, the most influential biotech corporation in the Helion sector. Its owner, Lady Celira Veluin, was known across a dozen star clusters, an alienbillionaire with a shimmering opal exoshell, for delicate arms, and an intellect ranked in the top percentile of her species. She had wealth enough to buy a moon, power enough to shift planetary politics, and a reputation for icy distance. But she also had a child, a fragile one, and that fact alone made her more feared than admired. Beginning, the janitor no one noticed. The humans on Virellum Prime were often overlooked, laborers, technicians, sometimes bodyguards. But Evan Jace, a quiet janitor with messy brown hair and a battered cleaning trolley, never complained. He didn't need much from life. Just enough to survive, enough to send money home to his sister on Earth. Every night, when the corporate elite were gone and only the hum of the building remained, Evan cleaned the top floors, the ones reserved for Auraline's upper management and the elite labs where only the most advanced alien tech was housed. He'd never met Lady Celira. Not really. He'd seen her once through glass, drifting past her entourage like a living sculpture. He never expected to see her again. But one night, everything changed. The child in the lab. Evan was mopping a corridor when he heard a soft, warbled cry, like the echo of wind caught inside crystal. He froze. No one was supposed to be here this late. Not on floor 99, the gene therapy labs. He followed the sound, heart pounding, until he reached a half-open door. Inside, lit by the soft glow of hollow displays, huddled a tiny Aurelian child, no older than 6 human years. Her exoshell was pale and thin, her limbs trembling. A spill of iridescent fluid, Aurelian circulatory gel, had spread across the floor. She slipped, fell again, and lay trembling. Evan didn't think. He ran to her, dropping to his knees. Hey, it's okay, he whispered, though she likely didn't understand English. The child stared up with huge, glassy eyes, terrified and embarrassed. Evan pulled a sterile cloth from his kit and cleaned her trembling arms gently, careful of the delicate joints. Then he checked the gel pack on her back. It had ruptured. He wasn't a medic, but he knew enough to tape the leak temporarily. She clung to him, trembling. It's all right. You're safe. I got you. He sat with her until the trembling subsided. She chirped a faint thanks in a wavering Aurelian tone. Evan smiled softly. You're welcome, little one. The billionaire, who saw everything. Then the door behind him hissed open. Evan turned, still kneeling, and his stomach plunged. Lady Celira Veluin stood in the doorway. Her crystalline exoshell gleamed like carved moonstone. Her forearms were poised in a rigid, formal stance. Her entourage of guards, each nearly 2 meters tall, surrounded her like obsidian statues. Her eyes, multifaceted, shifting through a spectrum of colors, locked onto Evan. For a long moment, she said nothing. Then, in a voice cold enough to frost steel, she spoke. Why, she demanded, is a human janitor touching my child? Evan slowly raised his hands, palms open. Ma'am, I didn't know she was yours. She fell. She was hurt. I was just helping. The guards advanced. The child suddenly shrieked, scrambling toward Evan. She grabbed his sleeve with her tiny arms, chittering in panicked Aurelian. Celira stiffened. Her daughter trusted the human? Something no Aurelian child had ever done. One of the guards attempted to pull the girl away, but she clung to Evan tighter, trembling violently. Celira raised a hand. Stop, she ordered. The guard froze. She stepped forward, studying the patch Evan had applied to the ruptured gel pack. You stabilized her leak. Her tone softened by a fraction. No untrained human should know how. I worked in a xenomedical aid office on Earth, Evan said quietly. Not as a doctor, but I learned things. Celira's gaze became unreadable. Then she said 5 words that turned Evan's world upside down. Come with me.
Now.
Middle, the proposal. Evan followed her through the upper labs, intimidated yet strangely calm. The child remained in his arms. They couldn't pry her away without causing distress. At last they reached a private chamber lined with Aurelian bioluminescent murals. The child was placed gently into a floating rest cradle. Celira dismissed her guards. Then she turned to Evan. My daughter, Vela, suffers from a congenital frailty. Her exoshell doesn't produce enough structural proteins. She falls often. She fears everyone.
Her voice faltered, barely.
She trusted you instantly. That has never happened. Evan swallowed. I was just trying to help. And you did. Celira's eyes shifted to a calmer aquamarine. Better than any of my staff. She stepped closer. I want to hire you. Evan blinked. As the janitor? No, she said sharply. As Vela's human companion and stability aid. Evan exhaled in shock. Ma'am, I'm not qualified for that. You are, Celira countered. Because she chose you. And Aurelian law states that a juvenile's instinctive bond cannot be dismissed. She took a breath. I will triple your salary.
Provide housing.
Protection. A life beyond anything a human laborer could dream. Evan hesitated. Why me? You barely know me. For the first time, Celira looked away, vulnerable. Because I am tired of watching my child suffer. And today she smiled. Evan looked into the cradle. Vela chirped softly and reached a small hand toward him. He smiled. Okay, he whispered. I'll stay. Training, trust, and trouble. The next weeks transformed Evan's life. He lived in Celira's floating palace above the city. Aurelian healers taught him how to monitor Vela's symptoms, adjust the gel pack, and help her exercise her fragile limbs. At first, Celira watched from afar, cold and analytical. But gradually, Evan saw cracks in her armor. She would linger longer during Vela's sessions. She would ask Evan questions, curious about human behavior. Sometimes, late at night, Evan caught her watching Vela sleep, her glowing eyes dimmed with exhaustion. She loved her daughter fiercely, but her power, wealth, and status had isolated her. Evan was the first person in years to speak to her like she was human. And Vela blossomed. She wasn't healed. Not fully. But with Evan's help, she grew stronger, braver, more playful. She laughed, something no one had heard before. Celira took notice. One night, during a quiet dinner overlooking the city, she spoke softly. You changed both our lives. Evan blushed. I'm just doing my job. No, Celira said. You brought warmth to a place that had none.